everybody, so we're back talking some more Season 2 of The Wheel of Time with Episode 7. We have now reached the penultimate episode of Season 2, and I think this show continues to get more and more exciting as the episodes go on. I'm really loving pretty much almost every single arc in the show at this point, and what we get in this episode alone has me thinking we're going to get an extremely explosive final episode next week. But before I dive into my thoughts about Episode 7, share your thoughts down below. How did you feel about this episode? And be sure to leave a like on the video and consider subscribing if you haven't already, because it's a lot of fun talking about the Wheel of Time on the channel as someone who is brand new to the series, having not read the source material. On the whole, Season 2 feels like a very personal, emotional journey for Moraine, and that only just gets exacerbated this week, digging a little bit more into the relationship between her and Suwon. Talk about pulling on your heartstrings, opening with a flashback to 20 years ago and how bubbly and happy they were, juxtaposed with how the episode ends, really just emotional stuff all around. Despite the limited amount of screen time that Mother Suwon gets, I think she's just a fantastic character all around, effortlessly charismatic, never afraid to share her feelings, being pretty upset that Moraine has never told her the entire time that she's been stilled. Honestly though, the biggest takeaway from this entire interaction between the two of them is Lan just spilled all of the tea. That Moraine's been hiding that she's been still these past 6 months, Rand is a dragon reborn, all the stuff with Alana really. Basically, Lan has been hurting and he just decided to be petty. Once we get that first meeting between Rand and Mother Suwon, you truly can just feel the tension in the air as they get to discussing things. Also, it does kind of exemplify the fact that Rand has not been refining his skills whatsoever. Which does, of course, look bad on Moraine on top of all the other drama going on that Rand has learned almost nothing about his abilities. Then to make matters worse, it doesn't get much better when Mother Suwon reveals to Rand the original plan that they had and the role he was supposed to play, caging him up to be used in the last battle. Obviously, like most people, Rand is not too keen on this idea, even if it wasn't going to come to fruition. His emotions start to get the best of him and he starts channeling, but Mother Suwon just shields him from the one power quick as hell. I had to laugh, just because Mother Suwon is a character, I kind of just live for the kind of shadiness of the character for the most part, because she just doubles down on the shade after shielding him, saying that they would have been better off if he was a girl. You know, the show just truly has a way of taking the things that I want and then kind of just twisting the dagger in what I want, because I want Matt to be at least a little bit happy for once. I felt a little bit bad that he did choose to stay behind to save Rand from potentially being murdered by him. Only for the instant that he leaves his hiding spot, he gets knocked out and wakes up in Falm with Lanfear and Ishamil. Now, there have been a handful of creepy moments and terror here and there, but I gotta say, I feel like this instance with Matt and him getting offered this tea by Ishamil might be one of the most horrific things we've seen in the show so far. This tea that Ishamil does offer Matt, though, I found to be extremely interesting. The fact that if you drink this tea, you're able to see your past lives. I don't know if that's necessarily something that I would want to drink, but Matt is susceptible to it because he thinks it's going to help him out in some way. Ishamil relates to him in many different ways in this conversation between the two of them. The fact that he understands that Matt has these sleepless nights and has been dealing with so much trauma just in this short period of time. Not that the trauma is going to stop, because once he drinks this tea, it is the most crazy, intense, horrific visions that I would not expect to see. Some of the sequences felt like it was ripped almost right out of a trippy A24 horror film. Although they aren't as heavily featured this week, I was impressed with the storyline continuing on with Nynaeve and Elaine. Now that the two of them are back on their own after last week's sacrifices, much like Nynaeve, I was very surprised and impressed that Elaine is trying to take over this operation. Seemingly, it does feel like we're getting a little bit of progress with this escape, even getting to run into Loyal briefly to discuss trying to save Egwene. I think they might be able to do it. The way that they're crafting these plans together, they kind of dug Nynaeve and Elaine's plan of the old bait and switch where they just walked up to a Sean Chan and slapped a collar on them and then beat them up. It's not a plan that has tons of sustainability unless you just have an endless amount of collars, but for just this one instance, I thought it was a cool win. With how much I've loved Perrin's story so far, and then adding on top of it, you had Aviendha joining the crew as well, I was excited to get to see their journey continue as all of them are making their way to Falm. For a moment there, it seemed like we took a wrong turn and ended up in Dune, them walking through this desert reminded me a lot of Arrakis. And that's including some of the costumes we see some of these women wear. I love Dune a lot though, so I'm not complaining about it. The one thing about their storyline this week that did just kind of feel confusing, and I think it was intentionally done that way, is the fact that Avienda meets up with these women and she discusses some stuff with them, and then she just allows them to just beat the living hell out of her. Then afterwards, they're just cool, and even Perrin is confused by this until she inevitably tells him what that meant. As phenomenal as Egwene's storyline was, I truly feel like it was the major highlight from episode 6. I wouldn't necessarily say I was highly anticipating seeing this explored further just because it was such a brutal emotional storyline, but it is one of the better storylines in my opinion of episode 7. Watching Sana and her have to showcase their abilities to other Saldemans and Amane, and as much as I hate their abusive dynamic, the demonstration of their explosive powers was pretty amazing. With how this dynamic continues to be displayed, I'm just hoping that somebody sooner rather than later rescues Egwene. I hate how this woman is abusing her and trying to justify this relationship working between the two of them. Still, nevertheless, I'm rooting so hard for Egwene to get out of this situation one way or another. She even had that slick jab before Sana left that she's still gonna kill her, so fingers crossed it happens. I don't know if it's gonna happen in season 2, but I'm hoping that it happens eventually. One major thing I mentioned before in previous reviews is how excited I am that a lot of these characters are all in the same location in one way or another. The big thing that comes with that is getting some reunions, for better or for worse. The one that I was most excited about while also being kind of nervous is Lan and Moiraine talking for the first time since she banished him away earlier this season. And it went about as coldly as I expected it to be. The fact that Moiraine doesn't want to speak to him at all. I definitely agreed though with a lot of Lan's points, trying to let Moiraine know that she needs to be more open and trusting of others to help if they're to succeed, especially because she's been kind of struggling lately. Maybe not in terms of offing yourself, but everything else around you and the situations that you put yourself and Rand in. It was kind of wild that Lan just openly asked Moiraine if she's had any suicidal thoughts this entire time. Speaking more on Lan, I love that it's kind of become a tradition at this point for a character if they're in town to go and pester Loghain in some shape or form. Usually whenever a character pesters Loghain, I know there's going to be some interesting, fun conversations at least, and it didn't disappoint here. As we get this reveal or tease that Loghain says that Moiraine still has some weaves. That's just one of many good reveals in episode 7, because the other one is when Liandrin goes to the Damodred household, Moraine's not there, but we get a big reveal because Liandrin is discussing everything with Moraine's nephew, and Moraine's nephew is a freaking dark friend. Of course, adding on top of it, he has no problem listening to their orders to go and try and kill Moiraine. Thankfully, Moraine's sister has been eavesdropping on this entire conversation and sets him up, putting together this elaborate trap to lock him away. Good on them. I'm glad that that ended up getting resolved fairly easily. Given the fact that Rand is being held captive and we know that several parties are interested in him getting to Falm, it was really kind of just a matter of time on who exactly is going to be trying to break Rand out. Is it going to be the bad guys, more good guys? The answer seemingly was kind of a little bit of both. Varen comes in and actually breaks Rand and Moiraine out of their cell. While all this stuff is going on, Rand is cooking up plans in the dream world with Lanfear about breaking him out by any means necessary, and she does oblige. Just rolling through town, throwing fireballs everywhere, blowing everything up, taking people out left and right. And might I thirst for a little bit, she's looking pretty damn good while doing it. I don't know where she's getting all these different costumes, but she's killing it every single time she's on screen. What Loghain insinuated about Moiraine and her problems, I kind of saw this twist coming, but it was still a nice surprise that Moiraine just has a knot. She's not actually hopeless and cut off forever from the one power. It was a little bit nerve-wracking that she just trusts Rand to be able to cut the knot, because he doesn't have any training or anything, but you kind of just have to roll with what you're given, I guess. Regardless, the sequence of Moiraine feeling that connection once again to the one power, I thought was beautifully done. Just seeing how relieved she is to be reconnected and then having her channel to open this gate, just pure awesomeness. I mean, it was kind of short-lived since Mother Suan realizes that they played her and makes Moiraine close the gate. Even that sequence, though, you can just feel the emotions pouring out, the betrayal between the two of them. And that is before Lanfear just walks in and blasts Mother Suan out of the way. Just as I spoke about a little bit earlier, that final sequence, the eyes locking between Moiraine and Mother Suan, slicing that with their romantic past as Moiraine continues on the journey with Rand and everyone, just pulling on my heartstrings. We've only had little teases of their relationship, but I've liked what I've seen so far, and it does kind of make me sad to just see how different the relationship was since we got to see what they were like when they were in love. After all this, and where it seems like we're heading for that finale with everyone going to the farm, I am pumped to see what happens in next week's finale. So make sure you share your thoughts down below. How did you feel about the penultimate episode of Season 2 of The Wheel of Time? Did you like the episode? Did you not like the episode? Share your thoughts down below in the comment section. As part of the funness, having that conversation with you guys in the comment section down below. And thank you guys, as always, chat videos. I always do appreciate it. Make sure you like on the video and also subscribe to the channel to update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. Next time, I'll see you guys later.